All right, Bama Nation, what's up? What's up? What's up? Yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, coming to you on a Monday in my own words. High show in the streets right here, number one form for Bama football news. You know what time it is? You tap that like button, smash the like button right now, get those like levels up, check in with your boy, hit that subscribe button, make this your spot, your place, your avenue for all things Bama football. The daily super chat go $100 daily. Super chat go $100 right there. We appreciate that coming from all of you. We appreciate you guys being a part of the show. You want to call in and let your voice be made known right now? You do that by calling 205-448-1358. The number to call in. It's right there, baby. 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. We're taking comments. We're taking the calls tonight, so get active here all night long. But the topic of tonight's show, with a lot going on, the topic is facing Michigan in a rematch in the bowl game. Good enough, or is it enough to get Bama excited for this bowl game? Is facing Michigan in this bowl game in a rematch, a little bit of revenge, some get back. Is it good enough to get Bama up and ready here for this matchup? Bama will face Michigan in the Rely Quest Bowl on New Year's Eve, December 31st from Tampa, Florida. But I mean, right now, we got our first call in the queue. Our first call in the queue right here. We're going to go to our first call right now. We're going to take it right now. Appreciate Roll Tide and Rise Up. Give us that Roll Tide family right there. We take our first call in the queue. We got a couple of calls right now. We go to our first one. You are live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling tonight? State your name. Where you calling from?
My name is Teresa Davis, calling from Linden, Alabama.
Teresa, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well, getting myself prepared here for this Christmas holiday season. It feels like I just had my dressing and turkey, and now I'm getting ready for Christmas season. So we running here.
Yes, sir. My birthday is the day before Christmas, and my husband is the day after, so we're kind of busy also.
You got it slam packed. You got your birthday, Jesus' birthday, and your husband's birthday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But how you feeling right now about this team and the bowl game that it's in? Like, what are your thoughts right now, Teresa?
I'm excited for it, even though I was hoping we would make the playoffs, but we didn't. But this is a learning lesson, but at least we get to see one more um, showing with Alabama, and I hope they come out on top. But with that being said, I have one question for you.
Go ahead.
Being being that the players hit the portal, I was really hurt to see that Kendrick Law is leaving. But is that an indication that Jalen is coming back?
Think that
Do you
is.
think?
I think Jalen Milroe may play in the bowl game, but I do not see him coming back next season just due to he is so high on everybody's draft board right now. It doesn't matter who you look at, whether it's Mel Kiper Jr., whether it's Todd McShay, or whoever you subscribe to for your draft notes, NFL draft notes. He is the number two or number three quarterback on several people's boards. I don't see him coming back.
Okay, I was just wondering. I just kind of hate that the guys are leaving. Because I really, really like Kendrick Law, but sometimes you have to do what's best for you.
You do. And the good thing, Teresa, about this for Alabama, the board can exercise the transfer portal right now. There are some names at wide receiver in this portal who are some real hot names. A couple of these guys can really fit in with what you're doing, especially if Jeremy Bernard decides to come back for next season. I think he will, because if you look at his draft stock, he may be second round pick at best, at worst, third round. And I think Bernard wants to make more money for himself. So I see Bernard coming back. You already have a talented young man in Ryan Williams. Jalen Hale is looking good to come back for spring ball. So I think that if you're Coach DeBoer, you can hit the portal and look at one of these hot shot names in this portal.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you taking my call, and I love your show, and I'll continue to tune in. Roll Tide.
Absolutely. Teresa coming in, appreciate the call. They're coming in from her to start this Monday. We continue with calls. We pulling this call right here. You are live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, Steven, it's Daniel from Phoenix City. How are you?
Doing great, Daniel. Doing great, my man. You look at Alabama and the ReliaQuest Bowl against Michigan. Some people are saying, "Hey, a chance to get some get back here, some revenge. Let's knock in on Michigan." Others feel like, why does this game matter? Alabama's not in the playoff. My main thing is the DeBoer era and setting the culture that you want to have, you being the head coach of Alabama football, it starts in this bowl game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it was an article you wrote, I read earlier on Facebook, comparing this maybe possibly to the 2019 season with the bowl game, taking us into 2020 and very likely possible there. I mean, it's kind of you're probably looking at a quarterback change, just a whole lot of changes. So this kind of hoping, see a little bit of a future off of this. But I got a couple questions for you. Sterling Dixon, what's going on with him? I haven't heard anything from him.
No, Sterling had a little bit of a shoulder injury, if I'm not mistaken, back in fall camp, and he had to kind of work through it. I think he may have had surgery on it. I'm not quite sure on that, but I know he had been banged up with the shoulder. But I think going into next spring, I think it's going to be really good to go as far as that competition in the linebacker room, especially with the production of Jihad Campbell. You would have to think Campbell would turn pro. The question becomes Deontay Lawson. What does he do, right? Because D-Law, with the injury he suffered to his leg against Oklahoma, he has the thought process of, do I come back to make a better draft value for myself and be the linebacker in that room, or do I still try to test the draft? I think D-Law should come back, and you would have you a 1-2 punch of Lawson with Justin Jefferson, and you can work in Sterling Dixon into that rotation. But it determines on what does Deontay Lawson do. Because in my opinion, I think Campbell's gone. I think Campbell's done enough to pursue the draft. I think he will pursue the draft. But I think Sterling Dixon will be good to go next season. He kind of got banged up a bit this year.
Right. No, I remember his recruitment and all. And I always liked him. He seemed like a baller. I mean, looking at his high school
Great
stuff.
kid. Great kid, great tape, great film. I just look at he got a bit dinged up in prior to the start of the season, and I think he had some work done to clean up little injury mishap there. But I think going into this upcoming spring, he's going to have a shot there in that inside backer rotation, especially as an off-ball linebacker at that stinger spot.
Right. And I think lastly, I was just kind of saying, what do you think we have a good chance of maintaining at least the receivers and running backs we have, or do you see a bit of more turnover coming on there?
It could now with what's already happened, Daniel. When you look at Kobe Prentice applying to hit the portal, Kendrick Law, Caleb Odom as well. Right now, I feel like that might be the only three guys. I don't see anything happening with Cole Adams or with Emmanuel Henderson or with Jaron Hamilton. Jalen Hale, Kalen DeBoer gave this awesome update on Sunday that Jalen Hale is back running. He's doing dry land running. He's moving around. He's bending. He's out there. He hasn't done any contact stuff yet, but the good thing is he is moving on the knee he had the injury on back in spring practice. So that's a positive. You're going to get Jalen Hale back next spring. You would have him back for next season. So you are returning wide receivers. It stings to not have Kobe Prentice, to not have Kendrick Law, to not have Caleb Odom, but you do have guys returning or set to return with Emmanuel Henderson, with Cole Adams, with Jaron Hamilton, Jalen Hale, with names like Bubba Hampton, Rico Scott is in there, Amari Jefferson. So you got receivers. And of course, you signed a couple more guys with Latsier Brooks and Derek Meadows. And so hopefully, even if the board decides to hit the portal, there are some hot shot names in that portal that he could get as well.
Right. And what do you think about as far as the running backs go?
Right now, I've heard nothing on the running back so far. Everybody is still in the fold. Justice Haynes still here. Jam Miller still in Tuscaloosa. Richard Young still in Tuscaloosa. Riley, Daniel Hill, the same thing. I haven't heard any rumbling so far of a running back that could potentially file paperwork to hit the portal. So right now, that running back room is still under Coach Gillespie, in Tuscaloosa.
And that's really good. I mean, and this is not a slight at all on Jalen. Again, I've told you before how much I love him. I just think, with him probably being gone, you're going to have more production, more carries for the backs as far as, I would figure. I mean, not that he did anything wrong, but, a lot of those carries went to him.
Right. And I think, Daniel, that's kind of the message, what you just said. I think that's kind of the message the coaching staff is sharing with these running backs. Hey, guys, don't jump ship. Next season, starting off in the spring, this offense is going to be more so predicated on what you guys do well. It's going to be more so focused on you at the running back position. So I think that's become the biggest selling point to everybody in that running back room. Hey, be patient. Don't jump ship. Don't go anywhere. This offense next season, starting off in spring ball, it's going to be predicated on what you do well.
Well, Stephen, I really appreciate you taking my call. Just looking forward to this bowl game, man. You have a great evening.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Daniel, from Phoenix City, calling into the show, giving us your thoughts here on a Monday. We're going to grab this call here. Guess what? You are live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
How's it going, Steve? This is Pat calling from Atlanta, man. How you doing?
Pat, doing good, man. I mean, Bama taking on Michigan, ReliQuest Bowl, New Year's Eve in Tampa, Florida. So we get some sunshine, some palm trees, some water, despite the fact that no college football playoff in the first ever 12-team experiment. But you got to start to set the culture the way you want it, right? And what better way to do this than getting some get back against Michigan?
Yeah, right. And that was the thing too that I was going to talk to you about was I'm sure Jalen probably going to want to play against this Michigan team and get his get back. But I kind of was looking forward to see how Ty would lead us going in. I really was thinking about it to see if you were to have Ty come in and the wide receivers that we had transferred, let him see how Ty would distribute the ball around with the same offensive scheme we have. If the same coach was around, you know what I mean? Like, just give him a chance and see how he distributes the ball than Jalen would, seriously. But
right.
That was my thought on it at first.
And I can see exactly where you're coming from with that. You would have loved to have seen the guys that have decided to file paperwork to hit the portal to stick around and see, how Ty Simpson would look distributing this football, because I feel like Coach DeBoer may give Milroe a couple of plays, a series or two, and then kind of give him that ode to send off to the NFL by having him come off and putting Ty Simpson in, and then start pressing on toward what the future looks like for Alabama starting off, next spring. But in this day and age, Pat, in this sport of college football, these NIL agents, they're in their players' ear. And they're telling these kids, hey, you're not popping off here at this program. Go somewhere where you can pop off. And I'm pretty sure the player may say, well, what if they change quarterbacks? The agent may go, what if they do? And you're still stuck in the same situation. just kind of putting myself in the mindset
Yeah.
of these athletes and their NIL agents having a conversation if I was in that room, just hypothetically speaking. But I can see where that type of
Yeah.
conversation happens.
Yeah. And another thing too, Stephen, was that if you look back at those 3 away games that we lost, right? With going into those away games and the environment that we went into, we seemed to not play up for those games. If you watch those games, we couldn't get momentum going, and there was times we could have won those games. Tennessee had a time, Vanderbilt had a time, but the going into a game and knowing you're in a hostile environment, it's just I felt that I think in a way it's back to coaching, because you got to have your players playing up. You got to have that mentality structure already in those players. You know what I mean? Like that mentality has to go in the structure. And Coach Saban, he had that mentality in his players. You know what I mean? Like, wasn't so often we'll go into an environment that's hostile, the guys will be playing up to the atmosphere we playing in. I felt like those 3 losses that we had away, the mentality of the players, that tenacity to go out and win. It showed, it was glimpses of it, but it wasn't like, where am I at? I'm hungry to come out here and play on this Saturday. You know what I'm saying? This environment and get this win and going back to Tuscaloosa. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be the mindset of a winning mentality. It's the first year, so I guess they got to adapt to Coach DeBoer's mentality or how he is. I seen him shoot some guys out, but man, I hate to see him lose that edge.
And it goes back to, Pat, it's being super locked in and playing to your standard, your level of excellence, despite who the opponent is. And you look at this season right here, if the game was a Georgia, like it's a Georgia game, it's a money game, everybody's hyped up, bets are all on the table, college game day flies in. Alabama had no problem getting up for that game because of all the external factors that went into it. The same thing with LSU. Alabama had no problem getting up for that game. But it's like the Tennessee game, the Vanderbilt game, the Oklahoma game, because there was no major cachet from the outside factors for this game, Bama felt like, okay, why is this a game to get up for? College game day's not here. People are not talking about it. Betting lines aren't going aren't going through the roof. So why should I get up for this game? And that's one of the main things you got to give Saban credit for. During his time coaching, he made sure, I don't care if you're playing Timbuktu, be locked in. And that's the thing that DeBoer has to get these guys to understand. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. You are playing on a game. They're coming to what's yours. You need to be locked in.
You gotta be locked in, man. I agree. And like I said, I was joking about this earlier too. If you tell Jalen before Saturday comes that he's playing Georgia LSU, you expect to see a 300-400 yard day from him. Yeah, that's why you gotta tell him, like, that's when you're gonna see prime Jalen, when he playing Georgia. He got Georgia number, man. So that's why Georgia didn't want to see us in the playoffs either. So that's they didn't want to see us in that playoff. Hey, but I thank you for your time, Steven, man. I support the show, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate Pat from Atlanta calling in, giving us his thoughts here on a Monday. We continue with calls. We're going to take this one. Hold on. You are now, give me a moment here. I don't know why this thing is acting up. You are live on the show. What's happening? How we feel? And state your name. Where you calling from?
Hello, Stephen. This is Mike in Austin, Texas.
Mike, brother, how you doing, man? Hey, Mike, you sat there, you said that the SEC title game, Texas would go down. How you feeling, Mike?
Well, I knew Texas was going to lose, man, simply because Georgia's been there before. And Texas has been out wandering around the pastures for the past 17 years, and they finally had a good season and think they're top cow. But I knew that Georgia was going to beat them, man. Dude, check out this stat, Stephen. I'm no Georgia fan, but you got to give credit where credit's due, man. They are 52-1 against teams not named Alabama. 52-1, and there's national championships in there as well. So, I mean, from this point, you got to give Georgia credit. You know what I mean? But Texas, man, they're good, but they why Manning is on the bench. I would never know. Why Manning is on the bench, I will never know. But that's something Sark's. That's up to Sark. But hey, man, that's how I feel about that game. I'm glad it played out that way. But check this out, Steven. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this playoff stuff. And here's what I mean right now. Let me first say that we're Bama fans. We blew it at OU. That's not my point. But Bama fans, we blew. We're not in. Okay. But let me ask you a question. And you please explain this one to me. How does Ohio State finish number 4 in the Big Ten, the crap 10? Ohio State finished number 4, and they host a playoff game against Tennessee that played this SEC schedule at Ohio State. How in the world does a number 4 finish Big Ten team host any kind of playoff game in the world? Please explain that to me.
I mean, Mike, I have no idea. This is the same Ohio State team that still cannot beat Michigan. I mean, even with Harbaugh gone and their entire roster gutted, some to the transfer portal, some to the NFL draft, and Harbaugh pieces out to the NFL, you still cannot beat Michigan. I don't get that. I think honestly Tennessee beats them. And I'm gonna say this: if Tennessee wins that matchup against Ohio State, watch the Vols. Because if Tennessee wins that matchup, the Vols could run some stuff here.
They can. Gotta hope that happens. I hope Georgia or Tennessee and maybe Texas. I hope they win out. But this is, Steve, I can't almost take this playoff serious. I look at these teams now. Get that. Look at Clemson, man. They lost to Georgia. They lost to South Carolina, but they're the ones that play because they won their lane conference. Dude, like I've been saying all year, this is such an unlevel playing field. You take Alabama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss, they all have 3 SEC losses, no out-of-conference losses at all. But yet they get to sit home, and meanwhile, the Ohio State posers finish 4th in the Big Ten, get to host a playoff game. It's the biggest farce in the world, and it's only the tip of the iceberg. But I look at these teams, man. I can't hardly take this stuff serious. Oh my, it's the biggest ridiculous thing in the world, and they have to expand this to 14 and 16, and they got to get rid of these automatic conference bursts like SMU and Clemson bumping us out. But anyway, my problem is with the Big Ten and the Ohio State posers having 1 or 2 decent teams and then 10 total crap teams. 1 or 2 decent teams and then 10 total crap teams. Oh, Indiana, man, give me a break. It's the biggest farce in the world, dude. But anyway, man, that's my rant. I can't even take this playoff serious because I look at these teams and it's ridiculous. But all I can tell Bama fans is this, right? That's neither here nor there. Now I can tell Bama fans this: the future's bright. We got to get past this transition from Saban to DeBoer. Milroe he was recruited by Saban. He's a Saban quarterback. He's not a DeBoer quarterback. Like I mentioned to you last time, Stephen, if you listen to what DeBoer says between the lines, he says things, well, my vision for the team, well, my vision for the quarterback. What he's telling you is Milroe's not my quarterback. That's what he's kind of trying to, you really got to walk on eggshells there a little bit because he wants to do good for Milroe. He doesn't want to bench Milroe. He wants Milroe to have a good future, right? Like everybody. So you got to walk on eggshells a little bit when it comes to any player. But, dude, we got to move past Milroe. We got to move past the Saban era. Now, I don't know how good DeBoer is going to be. Heck, we might be 5-7 next year. I do not know. But we got to give it. But I don't think we're going to be, to be honest. I think we're going to be good.
Mike. I hope not.
We're not. We're going to be good, man. But, dude, The Big Ten is completely overrated. Like I mentioned, it's an 11-team playoff because the posers, Ohio State posers, no matter what they do, they're always going to have their spot. They're the most privileged posers, ridiculous team in football. They're just take up space at the top for no reason whatsoever. They lost to Missouri in the bowl game last year. Stephen, Ohio State is 2-14 versus the SEC in bowls. Why them posers are hosting any kind of football playoff game is the biggest farce in the world. And that's it. Anyway, brother man, thank you for letting me get that off my chest, man. I'm actually feeling better. But Stephen, you take care, dude. Goodbye.
Appreciate Mike from Austin calling in here and giving us his thought and his just unfiltered rant there about Ohio State. We're gonna go to this call here. You are live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Steve, my boy, what's going on in G, man?
G, man. Hey, what's going on, brother? Talk to me, G. What's happening?
Well, we find ourselves again in another postseason coming up short. And a lot of people are saying stuff about not just the previous caller, just people in general. A lot of people talking about SMU. A lot of people talking about Clemson, with Ohio State. You know what, Steve? You know what? I'm going to say I'm disappointed in Bama Nation. Before we even talk to the players, before we even talk about it, I think the fans done lost their mind. Everybody complaining about Miro, and I sat here, and me and you done sat and talked about this plenty of times. We aren't going to win another natty with that D-line being subpar to almost bad. Bama Nation has to accept the fact that our D-line has been terrible the past 4 to 5 seasons. When you look at the teams that made it out the SEC, it's the best defense. Every year we get caught up, and I think it'd be smoke screen. So a lot of people, when you bring up the D-line, when you bring up Freddie Roach, it's split. A lot of people like to say it's a cover-up to me. A lot of people like to say it's not that many dominant D linemen out here for us to get them every year. Well, Georgia getting them every year. Michigan's getting them every year. Clemson got the better one out of the deal, out of no disrespect, but out of James Smith and Peter Woods. Peter Woods is almost 3 times better. Peter Woods just won the ACC championship. The same thing I be telling you. Bama Nation, we get caught up in the glitz and glamour. How many rings does Saban got at Bama, Steve?
He's got 6.
He got 6 rings, and only one of them was one of offense. And that's the Matt Jones ring. So like I said, I put a lot on the Bama Nation because we in this day and age, you could get on the TV, you can get on the internet, you can get on the interview, and you can alter things. You know how the internet works. You can get counseled. You say the wrong thing in this world these days, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Like I said, I'm disappointed. Yeah. So like I say, I'm disappointed in Bama Nation. We the ones who have fell in love with the hoop bop blue block, and we don't forgot what won this thing. The last time we played Texas, we played. Hold on, the time before we lost, we played them in Natty. To me, we only beat them because the defensive lineman knocked them out the game. If Marcel Darius doesn't knock Colt McCoy out the game, I think we lose.
I mean,
Georgia has beat Texas twice this year.
Marcel not only laid the wood to Colt McCoy, Marcel at 300 pounds did a spin circle move, picked off a pass, and scored a touchdown.
We're not going to win until our defensive line start to do shit like that against these. And people want to avoid that because it's the most difficult thing to adjust to. You're going to have to pay for them like Texas did Justice Terry. You're going to have to get a coach in here like how USC just took on Jakeem Stewart because they have a quality defensive line coach. You're gonna have to go get you a Larry Johnson. It's no way around it. And Steve, I want you to push it too, big dog, because
I
you be
mean,
on these
at this
platforms.
at
It's
this
time to
point,
stop.
at this the last coach Alabama had that made sure you had
Mm-hmm.
first round dogs every year up front was Bo Davis. That was the one.
Okay.
Like you had Bama players that spoke about Bo Davis like Bo Davis had some screws missing, but he knew how to coach. Bo Davis would
And
coach
Carl,
you deep, but Bo Davis knew how to get the
yeah.
best out of you. You looking for Terrence Cody's, the Marcel Darius's, the Damian Squares, the Nick Gentrys, the Ashawn Robinsons,
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Allens, Deshaun
Mm-hmm.
Hands, Jaron Reeds, Deron
Mm-hmm.
Paynes, Quentin Williams,
Mm-hmm.
all of those are
Mm-hmm.
Bo Davis. Bo Davis got every
And
last
what?
one of them. He every last one of them. He developed every last one of
Mm-hmm.
them. He put every last one of them
Mm-hmm.
in the National Football League, and most of them went first round.
Mm-hmm.
So
And,
until
and
you
and you
land,
know what? Like I
so until you land a Bo Davis type or a Todd Bates
yeah,
type who's over there at Clemson,
yeah,
until you land somebody like that, that's defensive mind wired to its core, you're not going to have
yeah,
a defensive
yeah.
line take over.
And Steve, we have to accept what football is. The best teams that came out the SEC have the best defensive lines. Every conference has a style of play that's required to make it out that conference. The ACC is an offensive conference. Over there where Michigan and Ohio State play, that's an offensive line conference, a quarterback dominant conference. The SEC is a line of scrimmage slash speed conference. We as that don't y'all mention Miro no more. I think it's a damn shame we keep mentioning that boy because I have not left the standard. It's the Bama Nation, and when like I always tell you is when Saban first didn't want to admit that it was a chink in his armor when Bo left, when Carl Dunbar left, when he made that silly decision without sincerity, and when Kirby left. A big chunk, I'm gonna say 70% of the Bama standard left when Kirby Smart left, and as a nation of fans, we haven't accepted. We try to go around it because we got blessed with the ride outs, with the Jerry Judys, with the Jalen Waddles, with the amazing shit that is outside of what Saban wanted. Saban didn't want no flashy team. We remember this. Saban told us straight up in the back in the day, I don't want no team led by no quarterback. I want my team led by muscle, grit, fourth quarter ass whoopings. Bama is not in the playoffs. Bama didn't win last year versus Michigan because the D-line couldn't get off the goddamn field. We didn't beat LSU last year, the year before, because the D-line couldn't get off the damn field. Look at the D-line class again this year. No disrespect to the lone guy. I'm happy for him, but let's be honest. That's not gonna get it done, big dog. There's a big hole in Bama. The top defensive lines are the ones that made it out the SEC. Georgia D line made it out. You know they have sacked Quinn Ewers on the total of 16 times in 2 games.
For real.
The last time we played Texas, we had 0 sacks and 2 pressures.
Right.
When they came into Brian Denny and put their belt on us, we had 0 sacks and 2 pressures. That's a fireable offense. I don't care what you want. You can't cover it up and say, oh, we ain't got the players. Yet again, you look at Bama and you can say the chink in our armor is our defense. People scoring us now. We don't come in here in a force our way. So me and you don't talk about the board. The board to me, he dropped the ball with Miro. He should have walked in there and told Miro at the top of spring, hey, look, I'm not being rude, but what I run is not what you run. That don't mean you're not good. It means you don't fit here. So we're going to give him the pass, right? See, me and you have agreed on the 1-year pass because his OC got poached along with his offensive line coach. We give him this 1-year grace period, right?
All right.
Okay. So we got the checklist for him again. The checklist for him again next year. What he gonna do with this OC, this D line, this O line coach, and Sheridan in that defense? He got 4 things to worry about. To me, Steve, if you look at this season, and I told you before, this is a new regime. Everything almost should be new except the core, like Allen, the trainer, the nutritionist. You don't change that. But your staff has to change along with you, right? So he has to do it. He has to get an elite OC in here. If he don't, I think next year will be the boys last year. If he don't get a D-line coach in here who could turn these things around, I think next year will be the boys last year. I don't think the board could miss the playoffs twice. And I'm being honest, Steve. Like, I've been saying this for a while. When you look at the D-line this year, it wasn't good. It wasn't dominant. The damn sure wasn't dominant, right? They didn't control not one game. They didn't win not one big game for us. So when you look at that, and when you look at the state of Bama in opponents' eyes, opponents see blood. Opponents see opportunity to make a name for themselves. This is the second year Josh Heupel beat us. Last year he beat us with the air raid. This year he beat us with a D line and a run game. People see opportunity off Bama. So if you watch us, we're stepping down slowly but surely. We ain't at the bottom yet. We still at a saving point. But if we don't get a defensive line coach in here and an offensive coordinator in here, let's get the hopes out of here, Steve. Appreciate you.
Read from Raleigh. Hey, giving us that real here on a Monday to the show. We're going to take this call. You are live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Stephen, Bill from New York. How are you tonight, man?
Doing good, Bill. Doing good. I mean, you got this ReliaQuest Bowl against Michigan on New Year's Eve. I didn't know what ReliaQuest was. I had to literally go research them and be like, this is who's sponsoring the bowl? Okay. So Bama's in the bowl, but I don't regularly know what it is. So this is something.
Well, here's my thing about the defensive line that the previous caller was talking about. I respect his call and him, but I got to say this, that the defensive line fell off a little bit, but our best players this year on defense, in my opinion, were the linebackers. I mean, I don't even think it was close. And then losing Quandarius hurt us, but I got to tell you, in terms of next year, our secondary, I think, looks very good and very deep. I think we're going to get some players. But the point I'm trying to make, I think even the defensive line would have been better if our offense was better. If we would have had more sustained drives, I think the defense wouldn't have been on the field as long getting gassed. And I think it would have worked out better. Like I said the last time I spoke to you, I'm pretty confident about next season. I think that I think we'll have another quarterback. And I wish Milroe well. I hope he goes to the NFL and makes $100 million and breaks Elway's records. But I think it's time for another quarterback. And I think we're going to be a better team. And I think these receivers we lost. This guy Bernard, is he going to declare? Do you think?
I think, Bill, he comes back. Now, if he does, he's looking at right now being a second or a third round pick at the least. But I think Bernard wants to have more value for himself. So I see him coming back. We'll see what he does, but I think he should come back.
Well, I think he's going to be excellent. And if he stays and Ryan and Williams stays, we'll pick up some guys in the portal. We got some freshmen coming in. I'm telling you, what do you think next year? The truth, Stephen. Do you think we'll be better than this year?
I think Alabama should be and will be better than I think they will be better next year for what happened this year, because I think number one, Bill, Kalen DeBoer, and you hate that it took 3 losses for it to happen. But I think Kalen DeBoer understands now fully after the whole roller coaster, the whole whirlwind of a transition has happened. I think now he finally sits down and he goes, whoa, this is the SEC. This is different. Now I got to go about this a whole different way. Because you got to think, when he first got the job, of course, he knew it was the SEC, but you never know what you're really a part of until you start experiencing that thing for real. And so once Kevin DeBoer started experiencing, okay, I beat Georgia. Man, I didn't bring my A game against Vanderbilt. I get beat. Man, I didn't bring my A game against Tennessee. I get beat. Man, I didn't bring my A game against an Oklahoma team that had nothing but the water boy and the towel boy, and I get beat. Now it's hitting him. Now he gets it. I'm in the SEC. I'm not in the no more Pac 12. I'm not in the mess anymore. It's not even conference. I'm in grown man football. So it's finally, it's hit him now. And because it's hit him now, he is going to use this experience to better himself and to better his program going into the spring and next season. It just needed to really hit him. I'm in a grown man's league. And I think now he sees it.
Well said, Stephen. And the only thing that won't be better next year is nobody's going to have a better show than you. You know what I'm talking about? Come on.
Hey, that's it,
You got the best show going.
Right,
You got the best show going, and you have a good night, man. We'll talk to you.
Appreciate my man Bill from New York calling to the show, giving us his thoughts here on a Monday. And so it's like I was saying, people, for King and the Boar, it's like, okay, I've been married now 2 years. Love my wife. Thank God for her. Absolutely. But marriage, we know, for those of you married out there, it's a transition. You're not going to get everything on the first year, right? It's a growing thing. It's the same thing with coaches. You know, coaches have to grow, right? Kagan DeBoer comes in here. It's year one. It's at Alabama. We all have an expectation for Kagan DeBoer. He has an expectation for himself. If you can put him in a room right now, he's his own biggest critic. So he's looking at this like, dog, like, this is a failure for me. You know, it's the 12-team playoff. In my first year at Bama in the 12-team playoff, I don't get in. Like, he's looking at this like, I messed up. But this, I'm now understanding this is a grown man league. You look at these coaches in the SEC, ain't no cherry stripers in this conference. These are all dog eat dog aggressive coaches. Kirby Smart's aggressive. Steve Sarkisian's aggressive. Lane Kiffin, controversial but aggressive. Josh Heupel's aggressive. You got aggressive coaches in this league, man. You don't got no choir boys in this conference. They all dogs. And even down to my guy at Florida, Billy Napier, a dog. He had to fight his way through a death row murder schedule to get 7-5. Like, they dogs in this conference, man. So DeBoer has had to gain an understanding of that. You didn't have that understanding when you're at the Pac-12 and all you have to deal with is 1 to 2 tough games a year, and you can coast through the remainder of your schedule singing "Long Long Oopsie." You ain't singing no "Long Long Oopsie" in the SEC. It's we beat them. Thank God. Oh snap! We got another game. Back on your A game. That's how every week. Every week, it's a gut check. Do you have it or no? That's this conference. And King and DeBoer in year one now has the firm understanding this is the conference that he's in. So now he takes this experience and applies it into next season. I can't have what happened in 2024 happen again. So he has a full understanding of that. 205-448-1358 for them to call in to let your voice be made known here. 205-448-1358. The question of the night is facing Michigan in a rematch in the Reliquis Bowl enough to get Bama up for this bowl game, but you guys have taken over the conversation to the point where the question I had up ain't even really the question anymore. But hey, this is why I enjoy doing this. We're going to some comments right now. My man Don Parker first in the comment section tonight. Appreciate him being a part of the show. Don Parker also showing some love with super track. Don Parker in here. We shall see if this hits the board. If you still allow ice cream trucks to pull up at practice after this turn, Bama may not be for you. Time for Roach to go too. Sheridan too. It's Don Parker. I'm going to say this. Going back to G from Raleigh, his statement, this Alabama defensive line has not been what it needs to be at. Yes, you want to play complementary football, and the offense at times did not do what it was supposed to do. But that defensive line, you need some animals up there. And the last animal we saw from Alabama on that line was Christian Barmore. It's been a minute. That's 2019, 2020. It's been a minute now. You got to get those animals on the defensive line. And if you got to pony up the NIL to get them, pony up the NIL to get them, because that's where we are now in college football. That's where we are now. You got to get those dudes that change the game on the defensive line. You got to get those dudes that win on the defensive line. Jaden Fletcher is in here giving us a yo. Appreciate you, Jaden Fletcher. Don Parker, good evening, everyone in Roll Tide. Appreciate you, Don Fletcher, again with the Roll Tide. Appreciate you, Jaden. Hank P is in here, Roll Tide. Steven, how you doing there, Hank? Happy to have you in here. Roll Tide and rise up. Get us a Roll Tide family. Appreciate that. Patricia Purdue is in here, Roll Tide. Steven, thanks to you, Patricia. Nick Harden is in here. We got a Roll Tide from him. Gregory Pace is in here, a Roll Tide from Gregory. And Ann is in the building. Good evening, Stephen and Roll Tide. Appreciate you, Ann. Steve is in here. Roll Tide for life. Stephen, appreciate you, Steve. Anitra is in here, giving us that Roll Tide with that elephant emoji. Ryan Gunn is in here. Stephen, Roll Tide. I'm not sure if any of us are stoked about this ReliaQuest Bowl with Michigan. I mean, they are 7-5. Hey, not many people are stoked, Ryan, but hey, had to pose the question to at least see how you felt about it. We're going to actually take this call right here. You are live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Rick. I'm calling from South Georgia. Well, I'm probably about 80 miles south of Macon, west of Macon, southeast of Macon, Dodge County, where Duke Johnson came from. He's coming to Alabama. So anyway,
man. What's
he's a heck of a player. I sent you and maybe I just sent it to the right thing about Duke. Well, but you know all about him. Y'all do a great job with that. But he's a special player. So I went and watched him every chance I could this year. And anyway.
Duke,
but I was going to,
Duke's a great kid, man. I really like the film.
Our fans bother me. Do what now? I'm sorry.
I was saying Duke's a great kid. I've been watching a lot of tape on him. Really love his skill set. Great, good quality player.
Well, yeah, and y'all know the measurements and the speed and all that. But here's what people don't realize about Duke. I mean, for several weeks down here, because the school's 2 miles from where I live, we had helicopters coming in every day bringing coaches, wanting to talk to Duke, and wanting to see him, talk to him. And this kid has stuck with me. Bama is, his mom says that Bama is his dream school. And he says he's born to play football. And he's kind of, if you look hard enough, you can find when he was a small child, when he was a small kid, he would get outside and get two of his buddies around, and he'd get him 3 different hats and have like 2 other schools in Alabama. And then he would show how he was going to do his commitment. And then he would rip off his jacket and have on an Alabama shirt. And I know on his Facebook page, so I can cover the team a little bit for the radio station I work for, but his Facebook page, when Bama lost to Vandy, they were ribbing Duke pretty hard about it. And Duke goes, it don't matter. They're still the standard. I mean, this guy loves Alabama. And, that means something. And he is, I'm not saying I would say he's a mean player, but a lot of physicality. And probably, even though he doesn't have the frame that Ruben had, he hits like Reuben Foster at times, and but he's a lot more athletic. I mean, this kid started quarterback when he was a true freshman. He played offense, and they moved him defense sophomore year. I mean, he was middle linebacker this year, and he was basically the quarterback of the defense. And our offensive coordinator here, who came from Demopolis, first year, we had first year coaching staff here. They took a 1-9 team, and they were 8-0 after 8 games. They ended up 9-3, second round of playoffs. But he would install Duke at just the right situations on offense. Key parts of the game. I mean, he's just an incredible player. He played quarterback, running back. He throws the ball, catches the ball. He played safety, wide receiver, and linebacker. And I know, Alabama's going to be a outside linebacker, but he's really a neat kid. And just the fact he loves Alabama. I think Malachi Moore loves Alabama like that. That means something. We don't have that like we used to have back in the day, but we can't talk about back in the day, Steve. It's like, Kalen DeBoer. I want Bama to win the ball game. I don't handle defeats well, but if Bama wins, this is something nobody's pointed out. If Bama wins this ball game, they'll end up 10-3. That means every head coach since Paul Bear Bryant retired has had a season where they've won at least 10 games. Now, if you go back and look, you'll see that. Mike Price did. Obviously, he never coached a game. See? But if you'll go back and look, Ray Perkins, Bill Curry, Gene Stallings, Mike Dubose, trying to get them all right here. I missed one. Mike Dubose, Dennis Franchione, followed by Mike Shula, and then Nick Saban. Every one, and some of those careers were real short, like 3 years, 3 or 4 years. Every one of those had at least one 10-win season. And what people don't understand about Kalen, Coach Saban left a lot of talent in Tuscaloosa. Sure, he did. But Coach DeBoer did recruit those kids. I mean, just because they're 5-star kids, he didn't know those kids. He just all of a sudden takes the Alabama job. I don't care how many stars they got by their name, Stephen. If he doesn't know if he's not familiar with the kids, he didn't recruit them. And you make a very good point. What you're saying right now. Okay, he's been through the ringer here. Coach DeBoer one season. I'm pretty proud of this team. I would think this team probably, if you go back and look at it honestly, they just can't handle prosperity. They just cannot handle prosperity. After Georgia game, they look at the media and they listen to the fans. After the Georgia game, Milroe was a Heisman Trophy winner and nobody could beat us. We could have beat Jacksonville Jaguars according to me. But what happened? We got the big head. We overlooked Vandy. Coming out of Vandy, we rocked us a little bit. We come in, we went against Missouri. I believe that's right. We played Missouri after that. That game was just a weird game. A noon kickoff. When we're at home and it's a noon kickoff, we're not going to play well. On the road noon kickoffs, we do okay. So we kind of stumbled through that game. That game was a little wider margin than 2 points. But Sellers is a great quarterback for South Carolina, and Shane Beamer is doing an incredible job. Okay, then we go to Tennessee, lay an egg. Okay, we just don't handle prosperity. They throw that noon kickoff game out. After that, we beat Missouri, we beat LSU. It looks like we got it turned around. Okay, we come to LSU. Well, we beat Mercer. We could have slept walk and beat them. We got prosperity. We go to a 6-5 or 5-5 Oklahoma team at Norman night game. I knew they were going to be tough. They had an extra week off to prepare for us, like Vanderbilt did. And they could make their whole season. It did make their whole season because they had a pretty bad one. So anyway, we go in there. We totally overlooked them. And if we'd have won that game, and here's another thing too about that game. People don't remember we led that game 3-0. What if Ryan? I hate to say you have some Butch Candy and nuts every day but Christmas, but what if Ryan Williams had just stepped out of bounds on that first touchdown? How would that just change things? And the one made it 24-10. Let's just face it, we were hosed out of that one. So you beat 24-3. Well, actually, it was 24-10. Okay, but bottom line, we're not in the playoffs. The playoffs are a farce because how many of those teams on neutral field would Alabama be favored against? SMU and Clemson are terrible. You can watch. It's like you can watch it and tell they're terrible. I mean, the same people that complained about TCU being in the playoffs when Georgia beats them 920-7 or whatever it was. Oh, this is horrible. This is horrible. The same ones that were screaming for SMU to get in the playoffs. Every team is flawed. NIL's got a lot to do with that, no doubt about it. But every team's flawed. I would take Alabama against anybody in the playoffs on neutral field. So anyway, that's all I got. I don't want to, keep you tied up. It's just raining here, and I heard you on there, and you got a great show, man. I love your show. It's just it's great. I mean, I can tell. I can tell how much you love Bama, and I've been with Bama. I hate to see our fans. Some of these people haven't been around for the lean times, so we may have some ahead. And these people aren't going to be able to handle it. But I've been around since '74, playing for Alabama, so I've seen the hard times. It's not fun, believe me, but we've been very blessed, and we're blessed to have your show, Stephen. Touchdown Alabama TDA, okay, and y'all have a good one. Roll Tide, my friend.
Appreciate the call coming in from my guy out of Macon, Georgia, right there, giving us some love here on the show, and we're gonna now we're wrapping this thing up with calls for the day here. We're going to go into the chat line for the remainder of the show. We appreciate everybody for giving their thoughts in here in the call segment. You guys have been phenomenal here. So for me, it's you definitely got to get the guys that want Bama. You got to get the guys that really care about this program, that really want this program, that this program is all they've ever dreamed about and wanted to be a part of. That's number one. But then number two, as the previous caller just mentioned, Kang and DeBoer has got to get his recruits in here, his guys in here. And let's see what Alabama football looks like with the whole recruiting cycle, a whole recruiting class of Kang and DeBoer in here. But we're going to continue here with the chat line here. My man from Skyline writes it. I love the Crimson Tide, but I don't want this matchup. He does not want Bama and Michigan. Let's see here. Trails for all. Steve Brown about to give it to the committee. Yeah, Steve Brown gonna give the committee what for his trails for all. Steve Brown about to give it to this committee. GT18 is in here. Roll Tide. Appreciate your GT18. Anitra shouting out Roll Tide and Rise Up. So is Patricia Purdue. Appreciate the love in here. Nick Harden, I'm fine with it. He's fine with playing Michigan. Ryan Gunn writes in Linden, Alabama, home of the Patriots. That goes to our first call, Teresa, who's out of Linden, Alabama, who that is the home of the Patriots. Appreciate Teresa giving us our first call of the day. Let's see, Nick Harden. I wonder who will play quarterback in this game. That'll be interesting to see. Will Alabama have Jalen Milroe out there first and then give Ty Simpson an opportunity later on in the game? We'll look at that. We got my man Ryan Gunn. Stephen, there is so much to talk about. There is between this game, the transfer portal. Does Alabama get some guys out of a transfer portal? Greg Byrne talking about we'll assess, how many Power 4 non-conference games we'll put on the schedule moving forward. It's just so much to discuss here. James Foster, Roll Tide. Merry Christmas, everyone. Go Tide. James is getting ready for this Christmas holiday season. Appreciate that love there from James. We got P-Bull 75 in here. I hope they get up for Michigan, considering the playoff game last season. You hope they get up for Michigan. We got Brock R. Roll Tide or RTR, KC Concepcion. KC's a good receiver. He's a good receiver. We will see if Alabama looks his way in the transfer portal. My man Don Parker, Alabama plays to win seasons. This season was dreadful in my view. Although the record was 9-3 for a first-year coach DeBoer, still no excuse at all for the record. Excited? Ask me in a few days. Sigh. Hey, Don Parker wanting excellence from this football team. Can't blame him. He wants that excellence there, no matter who the opponent is. We got Darren Henson writes in, I hope they are wanting to beat Michigan. Darren, I hope they're up for this game as well. Sweet Home Bama 24 checks in. Roll Tide, Stephen. Appreciate your Sweet Home Bama 24. Chatman family is here. Is any of the offensive tackles coming back? Well, I think Caden Proctor comes back. Elijah Pritchett could pursue the portal, could come back. We'll have to see on Pritchett. Ryan Gunn writes in, I hope we show up and get our pound of flesh back from Michigan from last year. Roll Tide. Gunn wants Bama to show up in this game here against Michigan. We got Roosevelt Smith III. I'm not happy with none of this. I'm not happy with none of this. How play calling, no coaching, and all players leaving. So Roosevelt not happy with this entire situation. He is not happy about this. Let's see here. Don Parker saying everybody need to go. Sheridan, Roach, Womack, even DeBoer in the portal. Now, Don, I don't think DeBoer is going in the portal. DeBoer's not going in. Now, Sheridan, Roach, Womack, you can make your debate there, but DeBoer is not going in that portal. Nick Harden, I think Rico Scott will get some playing time next season. Rico caught a touchdown pass this season as a freshman. Rico should get some playing time in the upcoming season. Don Parker is not joking about all the coaches he said to go in the portal. He is not joking. Nick Harden, DeBoer isn't going anywhere. He's got a $75 million buyout that he does. Unless you got some money stashed under a pillow somewhere, DeBoer's got a $75 million buyout. I think he's not going anywhere. Dylan Wiggum writes in, Justin Jefferson is out of eligibility. Well, if Justin Jefferson is out of eligibility and he cannot return, but you look at in that linebacker room, Justin Okunrokwo, Jeremiah Alexander, Sterling Dixon. Y'all get ready. Just get ready. Let's see. 334 Guh. I'm excited for Dixon too. I saw his tape. Yep, Sterling Dixon's good right there. We're going to take a small break here. We're going to go to our guys at Alumni Hall, and then we'll be back to wrap this show up. We'll be back, folks, right after this.
We're out here at Alumni Hall in Tuscaloosa. Oh yeah, this. Gotta get this. Gotta get one of these right here. Can't rock that band without the shirt right here, flesh polo. Gotta also rock the all pink. Kanye West right there. Key chains. Gotta get you some key chains. I'm telling you, if you are a die-hard Alabama fan and you're looking for some big-time apparel, this place has got everything. We're talking shirts, shoes, sweatshirts, hoodies, cups, mugs, keychains. If you're just a top fan that has an itch to get more apparel, swag in the game, you come right here at Alumni Hall in Tuscaloosa, right here in Midtown Village. And also you can shop online. The link is in the description here, right here at Alumni Hall.
Absolutely, folks. Absolutely, Alumni Hall. Get your gear right there. Great people at Alumni Hall. We appreciate all of them for what they do for us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But as always, Bama Nation, you want the best in news, notes, coverage, all things Tide football. You can get that by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store. If you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store. If you got the Android phone for your audio needs, check us out. iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. We got you covered right there. The good and gracious Lord sees fit. I'll try to be back on Wednesday, continuing the conversation that is Tide football. Remember, fans, you get that subscription to touchdownalabama.com. You subscribe to touchdownalabama.com for all of your Bama needs right there to have everything in the palm of your hands. I want to appreciate all of you for calling in, writing in, texting in, donating in, making this your show, your spot for all things Tide football. Till next time, folks, and your man Stephen M. Smith, and you've been listening to Them On Words.